you said the R word, and I've noticed that's in the headline a lot. The question of what is a recession at this point, because the numbers are starting to look soft and there's serious concern, where a lot of people are saying, hey, the idea of 2 down quarters of GDP, that's really not what a recession is. Well, I would say first, what that tells me is we've already had 1 quarter of negative GDP. It's probably likely we're going to have a second. And there's certainly politics around that. We have a White House press release saying, hey, hold on, 2 negative quarters isn't a recession. But I've also seen Brian Westbury. He's very followed on Twitter, and he's saying this isn't a recession. This isn't a definition of a recession. I've been an economist for 40 years. It's been a general rule of thumb that's been set for quite some time. But Westbury is also not on the left. It's that he's, in my opinion, said that there's not going to be a recession. So what then is a recession? And there's actually an institution that is tasked with saying, hey, this is the recession, this is what it began, and this is what we look at. And if we look at their definitions, a significant decline in the economy, and it's spread over more than a few months, and it's visible in real GDP, real income, employment, industrial production, and wholesale retail sales. So the question is what does that data look like? And I'm going to jump right into, go ahead.
Probably first defining GDP, because that matters. So that's just the measure of final goods and services produced in the economy, so domestically and in the U.S. And an alternative measure is GDI, gross domestic income. So you can either measure what's produced or all the incomes that are received. And if you go back historically, they track very similarly, and they should, because they're trying to measure the same way, just a little bit differently, a little bit of a lag. The BEA even says they prefer the GDP measure. They think it may be a little bit more accurate, but GDI was positive for the first quarter, while GDP was negative. So just something where if we do see another negative GDP print, I expect the White House to release something looking at GDI, not GDP.
Absolutely. You want to definitely shift it. But I think a lot of the concern is, one, we're, by the general rule of thumb, we're already halfway to the recession. And then if we're looking at the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, they have real-time data, and they're trying to project what will the GDP come at. And they're saying, hey, another negative quarter. Now, we've been talking with an economist that we use out of Florida, and he's been saying he doesn't think that it's going to be negative. He thinks that the service, so basically a lot of the things that we were buying while we're at work from home and living at home, a lot of this consumer discretionary, that's getting replaced by service, by vacation, and he thinks that's going to offset that, maybe why some of this number, real-time data, doesn't look as positive. To me, as much hay is being made about 2 quarters of recession tells me that those that probably have an idea of what the numbers will actually look like is tomorrow morning, I'm not going to be surprised to see a slight negative for the quarter on GDP.